All right. We are live. Hello. Welcome back to another live stream. My name is Christian Golick, and this live stream is going to be a little different for a few reasons. Normally, I just freestyle, riff on something video related. But this time, I'm doing an interview with a colleague of mine, and we're going to be talking about client relations. And this is going to be a fun one. This is a dear friend and colleague of mine. Her name is Krystal Balzer, and she is a New York City nurse, wife, dog mom, lover of a mediocre hockey team, the New York Rangers. That's good. That's good. And she also runs her own photography company. And today we're going to be kind of, talking about her approach to clients, her approach to, just how she interacts with clients. And there probably will be some hockey trash talk. Forewarning. It just is what it is. So let's bring her on right now. Hello, Krystal. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well. Uh,
Great.
I wanted to bring you on to the show because you stand out in your market. You have a very natural way of relating to your clients that just seems like effortless. So I want to focus the conversation around that today. But it's not just clients that you effortlessly click with. It's also colleagues and vendors, which is how we got to know each other and
Mhm.
clicked effortlessly. Um, and I just think that's fascinating because we met over 3 years ago at a wedding. You were the
Yeah.
photographer. I was the videographer. We didn't know each other beforehand. We didn't really need to know each other, to be honest. Like we each had our own jobs. We had our work to do. But in that, I don't know, 9, 10 hour day, we became so close that we haven't actually spoken in the past 3 years. We've only communicated through Instagram.
Yeah.
And I just find that so funny and like fascinating because it's like the it's not a phrase or a saying, but the idea of like your best friends don't need to keep up to date with each other. You don't need to keep checking in. You just pick up right where you left off last. And that's where we just clicked right away. And that's been our relationship for the past 3 years, formed out of nothing essentially.
Yeah. It's
Just one
pretty wild.
coincidental event. Right. Um, so of course, I am curious about your photography business, and I wanted to ask you some questions around how you talk with your clients. Because, of course, we have a great relationship that was very natural to form. So I'm curious how you take that approach with clients who, instead of giving you friendship, give you money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we connected right away, and I am so grateful for it every day. Like, you have become one of my closest friends. And like you said, we've only um, communicated through Instagram until today when we actually exchanged a text.
Right. Yes. We actually exchanged. Yes, we changed or exchanged numbers just today, which was just we didn't even think of it.
Yeah.
We were just good with Instagram
Yeah.
until this interview where I was like, okay, we need to text each other. We're just
Yeah.
just just a little faster, bit of a logistics and planning. Um, but like, and before we hop into the business questions, I don't know when in the past 3 years that we developed our frenemyship
Yes.
uh, over our hockey teams. When did that happen? When did we start just completely shit talking each other and with hockey?
Oh, geez. I think it was because you saw one of my Instagram stories because my husband and I have season tickets to the New York Rangers. So, we were there every week. And I think the first time you saw that I had posted a story of being at the game, it was immediate, right away, shit talking. And I was like, this is a side of him I did not see. This is wonderful. Oh my God, we just became best friends.
Well, and that's funny that like on the wedding day, we're of course working. We're in our professional, zone, our mood. Um, and we joked around, had a good time. But right, it was very, friendly, happy, cordial on the wedding day, and then just, hard right turn to shit talking through hockey. I remember, and I don't know what prompted me to do this, but I think 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago, I remember going to Pittsburgh and going to a hockey game. And the Penguins were playing the Rangers, and that was a close game. Like it was like it was very entertaining. And the Penguins obviously pulled through.
Oh, sure.
And I just remember sending you Instagram story after Instagram story of like the scoreboard and just the buzzer going off when the Pens scored. Oh my gosh, it was. Don't really know why I felt the need to do that, but it just felt right, and that just elevated. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I mean, it's the best. It has to. Like, you have to have that banter, otherwise, it's not fun.
Right. Because then it's just another. It's a nice friendship. It's a professional colleague friendship. But when you break out the shit talk, that's when like the comfort level is there. And it's like, I really like this person, but I'm going to beat the living hell out of their hockey team. Yes. And then the next day we're going to be best friends again.
Totally. I love you so much, but I want to throw you down a flight of stairs. Likewise. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shifting gears maybe to something a little more relatable to people watching. Client relations and just your approach to clients and whatnot. What point, and this might make you think a little bit, but what point in your photography business did you realize your photography skills wasn't the deciding factor when people booked you?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously right away when we first begin, people aren't booking us for our skills. They're being friendly and nice. I planned with all of my friends on how to photograph them. And, obviously then they weren't picking me for my skills, but as I grew and I matured and I, really became the photographer that I am today, I really started to notice a theme when it came to the reviews I was getting on Wedding Wire. So, my clients were really talking about the personality traits that I have. Like, of course they would mention they were thrilled with their images. They were very happy with their images, but what they cared most about was the experience that I gave them. And mind you, like, I never really thought of it as anything more than who I am and what I'm bringing to the table. But it was really mind-blowing as I saw these images or these reviews come in throughout the years, that people really loved the experience that I gave them. And, wedding photography isn't just about the wedding day. If any of you have gotten married before, your wedding photographer really is with you the whole time. So, while your other vendors are as well, you're interacting most, unless you have a wedding planner, you're interacting most with your wedding photographer. And if you don't have a wedding planner, we become your wedding photographer. So that interaction is so, so important to make sure that their wedding journey is enjoyable. It's about the entire journey from the consultation to the final gallery. And if you're lucky enough, and what I really, really strive for, it continues after that. I really, really want my clients to become friends. I really want to make their journey easy. I want to make it fun. I want to make it enjoyable. And it's most important in my opinion, to make sure that everything is really great for them. Like, images, of course, are really important, but it's important to deliver a great a product is very essential, but what is a good product without a great experience? Like I remember when I got married many years ago, I've been married for 11 years now. I picked my photographer solely on her photos, and I really loved her images. I loved the way that she captured things. I felt she really captured moments. But when the day came, I didn't really work well with her. She was very bossy. She was very controlling. Her second shooter was the exact same way. And I remember, this was before I had started my photography business at the time, but I remember, just having this really unsettling feeling about how she affected my day. And I received my gallery and I was very happy with my photos. But even to this day, when I look at them, I still have a little bit of a taste in my stomach. Like she really, I can remember those moments where she really just made me feel so uncomfortable and almost as if I was bothering her on that day. So I really, really learned from her. And, whether or not it was a backwards way of learning, I learned that it was so important to give my clients the experience that they deserve on their wedding day from start to finish. It's the most important component.
Oh, absolutely. And I can, add on another story to that with my sister's wedding. Bit different circumstances. With her photos, she has her album, she has her digitals and her prints and everything. And the photographer that they hired, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But she got married end of June, hot as could be. That wedding day was hot as could be. They did outdoor portraits, and they had to walk a decent bit from the venue. And it was just she was very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in the wedding party, and it wasn't fun. And let alone how many layers of, tulle and dress that she was wearing. She was just baking and roasting, and that's what she remembers when she looks at those photos.
Mm-hmm.
The ceremony photos, the nighttime photos, the reception first dance photos, she loves.
Sure.
And she enjoys the outdoor portraits as well, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what sits with her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing that anyone could really do about that because that's the weather. But the experience is always tied to photos and to the products I've found. And yeah, seems like you too as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, the wedding photos that I have, I don't even look at anymore because I have such a negative emotion tied to them. And it was the best day of my life. I mean, it's supposed to be one of the best days of your life, but I still remember certain images, and I will also hear the things that she was saying to me as those images were being taken. And wedding days are stressful. They're really, really, really stressful on top of, family and things that happen and Murphy's Law. And it's just, wedding days are so stressful. And to have that added stress when it really could be someone that can relieve that stress, that's not okay in my opinion.
Absolutely. And to anyone wondering what Murphy's Law is, I always say it because it always bites me in the butt, and I always try to combat it. Anything that can happen will happen. Yeah, anything could happen, and
oh yeah, and
just
like we could
pounds on a wedding day.
yeah, we could have a whole segment of all the bad stories and terrible
Oh my
things
gosh.
that have happened. But
Yeah, after hours with Krystal and Christian, shit talking weddings and all the things that shit talking weddings and hockey teams.
yes, oh, that sounds amazing.
Oh, fantastic. So you've learned from that, unfortunately, you've learned from your wedding photographer.
Mm-hmm.
From that, mixed with your own style, what do you think you would call your style or call your approach when you first meet a potential client? They're interested, they just got engaged, they are looking for wedding photographers, they reach out to you. How do you approach that first contact situation?
Sure. I mean, it's hard to pick a style when it comes to the consultation because every client is unique, right? They need a unique approach. So immediately from the beginning, I'm gauging them from within the first couple sentences, whether it's over Zoom, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's in person. I'm really just trying to soak in what type of personality they are as quickly as I can. I know many photographers, I've worked with many photographers that use a questionnaire to do their consultations, and I find that to be just so rehearsed and restricted, and it really limits you to an authentic interaction. And of course, there's specific things that we need to know when we're talking to you. Of course, we need to know your date. We need to know where you're getting married. We want to know about your vision, but I also want to know how your day was. Like, I want to know, do you have a dog that I can convince you to bring to your engagement shoot? Do you, what are the things that are most important to you in your life? Like, I want to know all about you. So, my approach is really, I want to know everything about them aside from their wedding day at first. I want to know the kind of people they are. I want to know them like I would get to know a friend. So, my approach is really having a very authentic conversation to begin with. I try to make it like that in the beginning before we actually jump into the wedding details, because it's a good way for me to gauge to know whether or not we're going to click, right? It's important for me to know. So, I tell all of my clients in their consultation that I want them to feel as though I'm a friend to them and I just happen to be there photographing their wedding. Like, I want them to be that comfortable with me that they feel as though I'm just maybe one of the bridesmaids who just happens to have a camera, with her while she's doing it. I want to know them as deep as I possibly can because I want to celebrate them as hard as I can on their wedding day. I want to celebrate them. I want to celebrate their love just as hard as their friends and family are. It's really important to me. And building a connection, that creates that environment. It's really important to make them feel the most comfortable that they can possibly feel. And, it will drastically improve their experience if you can really make this happen, which ultimately will give you those beautiful, authentic photos that we all want. So, creating this connection right from the beginning is most important to creating those beautiful, authentic images in the end.
I have never before heard any wedding vendor say, "I want to celebrate your wedding hard with you." I've never heard that before. I love that. That is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I love love. I'm a sucker for love. I'm such a hopeless romantic, which is why I, essentially became a wedding photographer. And I am the one who is sitting home on a Saturday night if there's nothing to do watching romance movies. Like, I'm that mushy and silly, but I love it. And I love love and I love seeing love and I love being immersed in people's love. So the more I can immerse in you and who you are and what your love is, I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate you on your wedding day just as hard as your friends and family are.
So, yeah, I mean, you 100% just go all in. Like when you meet with a client or a potential client, you just, put your whole self on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that some couples just don't respond well to that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are a lot of couples that maybe feel uncomfortable with that type of approach and they're not really ready to share with me. So, one of the things that I like to do is, unfortunately, maybe to my fault, I'm an oversharer. I share a lot about me. Of course, not, I want to know about you first. I want to know about you first and your love first, but I'm also going to share with you all about me. I just want you to feel like you can trust me and you're safe, and I'm going to share things with you that maybe other vendors won't. But yeah, there are times when it doesn't click, and that happens. And hopefully most of us will get to a point in our career where we can say no to those weddings, where we can say no to possibly a really uncomfortable, unbearable situation where the money really isn't worth it. We all have livelihoods, we all have to support our families, but in the end, if you think about it, you're with clients from a year to 2 years and on. If luckily, if
Yeah,
you're friends with,
right.
it's a long experience.
So this might be a little broad of a question, but I'm curious what your answer would be. Who is Krystal Balzer? Like, what do people think when they hear your name?
Well, I'm sure their first thought is that, what cruel parents named their daughter Krystal with the last name Balzer. And then when they actually find out that I married into this name, they think that it's a really sick joke of the universe. So that's probably their initial thought when they hear my name.
I will say I've restrained from making those jokes. I will make all the jokes in the world about your hockey affiliations, but I will not make fun of your name because it's your name. And I can
That's
empathize
so nice.
because
We'll get to that level. We'll get to that level.
well,
Yeah.
so if you start saying, "Hey Christian, go lick," whatever noun you want, then
There it is.
so I understand the name struggle.
Yeah,
But
it's
we got what we
rough. It's rough. It is what it is. So like that's initially probably what they're thinking about me. But after they get away from that shock or whatever it is, they find out I'm a nurse, like you had mentioned in the beginning. I work at New York Presbyterian. I've been a nurse for 11 years now, which is crazy. And I feel so grateful to pursue both of my passions in life. A lot of people ask if I ever plan to transition to photography full time. And I could never imagine not being a nurse. A nurse is who I've been. I can remember my earliest memories of childhood I always knew I wanted to be a nurse, and I could never imagine giving that up. I married a really wonderful man. He's really wonderful. I am so grateful he pushed me to really be this photographer that I am today. With his support, I never ever could have gotten here. And he supported my wildly adventurous soul for 13 years, and I'm so grateful. I have 2 Australian shepherds who are pretty awesome. Probably the best parts of every single day of mine while they're sleeping. And hopefully they don't wake up and bark. But yeah, that's I love hockey, as you alluded to. But yeah, I'm a pretty simple person that really just wants to experience life and all it has to offer, through travel and fun and music and sports and all of the exciting things you can think of. That's really all I want.
If we could take all that into one word, I would summarize you as free spirited.
Oh, I love that.
Maybe
I love that.
maybe what
I mean, I do feel like I should have grown up in the 60s. So yeah, that works perfect.
okay. Well, I know that you are jealous of my move out to Colorado. How many?
So jealous.
So you are, of course, welcome to visit whenever you can get out.
Be careful, because I will come
Oh,
and I won't leave. So
I believe you. I believe you. uh, I guess one like going through a conversation. So we know how you start a conversation with clients. At what point, and I know of course this may vary client to client, but what point in the conversation do you know, like, oh, we're a fit, or oh, I might be busy that day?
I mean, I feel like I can tell pretty quickly. First impressions are very accurate for me. I feel like I'm pretty spot on. Even when it's on the phone, I can tell, with their voice or their tone of their voice, whether or not we're gonna really click or click. One of the best skills I learned as a nurse, other than good communication skills, like being able to communicate with my patients effectively and efficiently, I really learned how to read verbal cues. I learned how to read people. I guess I learned how to read them verbally and non-verbally, which is really important when you're trying to figure out if you're going to connect well with a client. As a nurse, believe it or not, especially in an ICU setting, nonverbal cues are life-saving. And being able to really trust your gut and trust your intuition and understand that like there's something going on there that I need to figure out. So I feel like I can tell right away, not right away, but within the first couple sentences of each other, that this is going toward the direction of being a good click or going toward a direction of not being a good click. As humans, we know when we feel uneasy in a situation, like evolutionary speaking, it's a survival mechanism, right? So we know when we feel uncomfortable, and that's probably a little extreme, talking about flight or flight and evolution and whatnot, but it's true. Like we know humans at baseline if we feel uneasy about a situation or what's going on. And it's okay. It's okay not to click with your clients. It's okay to not have that connection. Again, there are clients that I really am unable to connect with, and sometimes our personalities don't jive, which is okay. And so, I choose to not book those weddings because I want them to have the experience that they need and that they want, and I might just not be what they need in that time. And that goes a lot to say that clients just aren't numbers, right? They're not just money. They're not just numbers. It's about their experience on their wedding day. It's the most important day of their life. And again, I hope we all get to the point in our careers where we can say no to those weddings that we feel don't fit. So really looking at our clients as wholes, as human beings, as people who need an experience on their wedding day, and you might just not be the fit for them.
Preach it. I also and I want to balance this out a little bit. You covered heavily on the, if we're not a good fit, you're not going to have as good of a wedding, so I want you to have a good wedding.
Mm-hmm.
We have that side of it. I'm going to speak on the more selfish, business centric side of it, of if and now I'm of course out of the wedding game or transitioning out. But when I was full force into the wedding videography, I definitely had this struggle of, okay, I have this wedding. It's okay. They're paying me money. Like I'm not digging it, but like it's also money.
Mm-hmm.
Take it.
Right.
Okay, cool. And I just made, X amount of dollars. And now I have a client who I don't necessarily jive with.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when that client recommends me to their friends who I also don't jive with? And then they
Mm-hmm.
recommend me to their friends who I also don't jive with. Now I'm just continually doing work for people I'm not really fond of, or not fond of, but I don't have that connection with.
Yeah.
And then they're taking up dates because you can only do one wedding a day.
Yeah.
They're taking up dates for potential clients that you do connect with, and that can, like, the low hanging fruit is really, sometimes when you need it in a pinch, you need it in a pinch. But
Right.
like,
Sure.
if you are thinking long term, don't take the low hanging fruit. Don't do it just for the money, because you really are staggering your business
Mm-hmm.
for the next 2 to 3 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's so draining. It's so mentally draining to have to continuously work with people that you just don't connect with,
mm-hmm.
um, regardless of the money. Like, money is great. Again, we all have livelihoods. We all have to pay our bills, and the rent is due, and we have that. But again, we can get other clients. We can search for those clients. We can bring those clients to us, that we will connect with and that we will have good experiences with, and that they will have a great experience with us.
Absolutely, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
you are in Manhattan, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, what type of photography? And now we've been using weddings as the
Mm-hmm.
main, I guess, pillar, but there's many genres of photography.
Oh,
What
yeah.
other styles of photography are you interested in? And are you interested in working with entrepreneurs? Because I have a handful of clients in Manhattan who would definitely benefit from your skill. So, yeah, what types of photography do you enjoy doing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, my main focus is wedding photography and engagement photos, but because we talked a lot about making these clients my friends, a lot of my clients have become lifelong friends of mine, in which case they continue to book me for their milestones for the rest of their life. So I am lucky enough to do lifestyle photos. I do newborn photos. I do family photos. I just don't highlight those on my webpage because it's not really what I specialize in. But I do lifestyle. I do headshots. I do all of those. I branch out a little bit. I did a pretty awesome party on like the billionth floor of a skyscraper once, and
Whoa.
that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, while I'm not great at those things at the parties, I'm not really good at those types of photography. I like to do it. I like to branch out and see what I'm capable of. I was a pediatric ICU nurse for a pretty long time before I had transitioned to the role that I'm currently in. And in which case, like, I learned how to talk to kids, and I learned how to love kids, and I learned how to play with them and be fun and silly. And so family photos are really enjoyable to me. Again, I just choose not to highlight them on my website because it's not really what I'm best at. I'm best at wedding photography. I'm best at couples. So yeah, there's a lot that I do that I keep hidden. I keep, in my little box, but
Okay. Well, and you know what? That's good because the weddings are the entry point for families. I mean, literally, the day that two people become one, start the family and everything.
yep.
And I mean, when you get engaged and you plan to have a wedding, like you just need the photographer, you need the video, well, not all the time. But you need to have that connection, or you need to hire that vendor, right? So
Yes.
one, you're in demand, you
Mhm.
get them in the door, of course you do a fantastic job, but then you are their photographer for the rest of their life, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
approach really helps aid that, because unlike your wedding photographer who you were just like, okay, bye,
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't be done with that soon enough.
right, you want to be friends with your clients post job, post wedding. So that's smart. That's a very good entry point to lifelong clients.
Yeah, it's a pretty good business model in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I do want to invite anyone who is watching right now, if you have any questions for myself or Krystal, definitely type them in the comments below. And in the meantime, I have a few more questions. Really, this is the big question. How badly do you think the Rangers will lose Penguins next time they face off on the ice together?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess how badly do you think Crosby cries when he doesn't get his way? Probably
That's
this.
about it, everybody. We're done with this live stream. I'm gonna level with you. In the beginning of Crosby's, professional hockey life with the Penguins,
Sure.
100%. I agree. No, he complained to the refs. I totally agree with that. And that's. I mean, when did he join? When he was like 19? I don't know.
Yes, he's really young.
Right. So I agree with it. Now, he doesn't complain. And everyone's going to say, no, he still complains. But that's because they're haters, because he's a fantastic captain.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you were on mute. I didn't hear you.
just
So,
bad taste. It's like my wedding photographer. Bad taste in my mouth.
drinking from that mug. Where can people find you online? You have an Instagram, which of course is listed on the screen right here. But where else can people find your work? Where else can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so honestly, if you Google Krystal Balzer, there's no other one in the entire world. So
I wouldn't imagine why.
can't imagine why. You can find my website. You can find all of my social media. You'll find some articles that I've been posted in as a nurse that are really boring. So if you ever want to fall asleep at night, just pull up those articles. And
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. I will have not addressed this, and I know this, so I'm gonna make it public knowledge. Your position right now is in epidemiology.
Yes. Yeah.
A little relevant right now.
A little bit.
Yeah,
If people didn't know what it was beforehand, they sure as hell know what it is now.
exactly right. So I feel like we just need to bring attention to that. And, obviously, thank you for everything you have been doing and will continue to do.
It's my pleasure.
Big stuff, big stuff. And,
Yeah. That's what we're trained for.
yeah, and you're vaccinated and,
Yes.
still normal. So,
And I'm alive.
yeah, vaccinations aren't going to kill people.
Arms. Yeah, it's pretty great. I love this job. I've been a nurse epidemiologist for 8 years now, I think. It's been a long time. Yeah, never really thought in my career that I would see a pandemic quite this large. We of course have all of our emerging infectious diseases that happen every so often, but this is pretty wild. It's pretty wild to be in this position. It's pretty wild to, have the influence that I have in my career with New York Presbyterian. I'm so grateful for that hospital and that entire establishment for what they've done for us, for the nurses, for all of the healthcare workers that have been involved. And this is not a New York Presbyterian plug, but just how much I love the institution that I work for. But yeah, it's pretty great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I remember watching pre-COVID. I remember watching a mini documentary series on Netflix called Explained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they made and what I love about the whole series is each episode is like 20 minutes, so super digestible. But they made an episode on epidemics, and Bill Gates pretty much narrated it, and they pretty much were like, the worst thing that is going to happen is if there is a extremely spreadable airborne SARS, that emerges into the world, and then 6 months later, hello.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's terrifying. I mean, what a scary time, and also a really exciting time to be alive. So many wonderful things have come out of the pandemic, and I know that that's really hard for people to probably accept right now, but there are so many wonderful things that have come out of it. And that's not to take away from all the hardships, from all of the deaths, from all of the hospitalizations, from every terrible thing that has happened because of the pandemic. But as we start to get out of this and people start to get vaccinated and we start to develop that herd immunity, we can start looking at that silver lining and really be grateful for the things that actually came out of it.
Absolutely. There's always a contrast. There's always another side to everything that's going on. And I mean, not that one's one is more prominent than the other. Both are very important, and yeah, we are going to be a better world after the pandemic. We're stronger, better world. Yeah, and
I think so.
Partly thanks to you.
That's really sweet.
Not fully. I mean, if you were a Penguins fan, then maybe fully, but
I would still never be a Penguins fan. If you told me that we could cure it, wouldn't be a Penguins fan. Ooh. Done.
All right. Crystal balls here, everybody. The pandemic, if it means screw the Penguins. Well, everybody, we're gonna wrap up. Crystal, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you for having me.
Very much appreciate it. Everyone watching, again, reach out on Instagram, which is listed on the screen, and her website with her fantastic work is in the description. And I really hope everyone enjoyed this episode. The next live will be in 2 weeks. It will be on Wednesday, February 17th, 12 p.m. Eastern, where I will be talking about the single piece of video content that booked me over $10,000 in 1 week. I'll be breaking that down next 2 Wednesdays, February 17th, 12 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube.